guys, Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, June 26th, and I am back for my stitching update. It's been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you have all been well. You've been stitching and creating and making all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast about cross-stitching and sometimes quilting. But if you are not interested in seeing the quilts, no worries. I show those in the second half of my video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they will be making an appearance. So hello, how are you? I hope you have had a great couple of weeks since we have last gotten together. As you could probably tell from the pictures, I know that there were a lot of them, but my brother and family have arrived from Las Vegas and it has been such a fun time. They're going to be here for 1 more week and then they will head off to their next destination. But it's just been so much fun. The house went from being very quiet to just being full of noise and children and laughter, and it's just been such a great time. I can't wait for this next week because I know that we have something planned for the 4th of July. We originally were going to do the parade and the fireworks over in Mount Angel, but they have canceled both, so now we've got to kind of come up with plan B. But I'm excited. It's been a lot of fun to spend time with my nephew Evan and my niece Zoe and baby Madeline, who is absolutely adorable. It's just been so much fun to have the whole family here. And then the pictures that I inserted at the beginning, we went up to Mary's Peak on Father's Day. That was the first full day that my brother was here. And so we all went there as a family. And Mary's Peak is the highest peak on the coastal range here in Oregon. And on a very clear day, you can see far away. You can see the ocean to the west and to the east. You can see the full Cascade Range. You can see eastern Oregon all the way to Idaho. It's very cool. But when we went up there, it was cloudy. Even though down below it was, partly cloudy, up there on the peak, it was cloudy. And so we got to walk amongst the clouds, which was really cool. Right before we left, the clouds sort of started to part and we were able to see some of the Willamette Valley. So it was a lot of fun. So if you stuck through the beginning introduction, thank you, but I wanted to make sure to get all of those pictures in there. And then I actually was editing the pictures before I started filming my video, and there's one picture that I hope will show up on my Google Drive, so that way I can put it in there because it's my whole family. My brother did a selfie with all of us, and so I'm hoping that by the time I finish my videos, it will have uploaded so that I can insert that. So hopefully you saw the entire family minus my grandma, who decided not to go. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to make the hike to the top. So, but yeah. So, much has happened though in the meantime. Queen of Freedom came back from the framers and I love her. She's right over there. And I can't wait to show you guys. First I'll talk about a few other things and then I'll show her in my finishes. And I also finished so in my last video, I showed that Carol had sent me a box full of quilt blocks that she had already assembled, and she sent me the border fabric and everything to basically put the top together, and I finished it this last week. I think I just posted it in my Instagram stories. I don't think I even posted a full thing of it yet. But I will make sure to do that or post a picture of it at the end of my video. And I know I wasn't supposed to talk about quilting in the first half of my video. Bear with me. They were the 2 most awesome finishes of the past 2 weeks, and I'm excited about both of them, and I'm excited to show them both to you today. So in terms of Queen of Freedom, I know that I have showed her on Instagram and on Facebook, but I have to tell you, I absolutely love her. I love walking into the room and seeing her up on the wall. She's so gorgeous. I love her, and I'm so happy that she was done. But the one thing that I wasn't expecting to feel was sort of a sadness that I was done stitching her. I'm glad to have her done, but I found that I really missed her. And I don't know if anybody else has ever felt that way about something that they're working on, but I did. I really missed working on her, and I was like, why am I feeling this way? She's done. I should be elated, which I was very happy she was done, but at the same time, I missed her. And I think it's just because, you know, I've spent the last 6 months stitching her. Every morning when I wake up, I would see her, because all of my cross stitching I store in my bedroom. And so I had her propped in my closet. And so in the morning when I would wake up, she was the first thing I would see. And so not seeing her and seeing something else in her place, I don't know, I felt very sad she was done. And even though I walk out of my room and I see her and there she is on the wall and I'm so happy she's there, it's just so silly. Anyway, so she's back from the framers. I love her, and I will talk about her in a few minutes. I know I can hear the groans, but one question that I got out of from my last video that I thought I would just quickly talk about, I get it a lot. So when I show what I'm working on and my finishes, I always get asked how I get everything to look so smooth. And so when I get ready to do a video, I usually always have my ironing board set up out in the other room, because I do, you know, for the project bag, usually the family room sort of becomes my sewing room during the week. So my ironing board is always there, and I will put a clean towel on the ironing board and I will lay my piece face down, and then I will iron it with a steam iron, not full steam, about halfway. And if I get into an area where there's like a really pesky seam, I will spray a little bit of Eileen's. Is it Eileen's? It's not Eileen's, that's the glue. It's Best Press. So I use this in my quilting whenever there's like a pesky wrinkle I can't get out, or like with cross stitching, if, you know, when you take your cross stitch off of your Q-snap, and then sometimes you've got that little bit of a crease where the Q-snap is like clamped over the fabric, or linen, not fabric. I will spray a little bit of this on there, and then I will iron it, and usually I can get it to come out. Occasionally I can't. Sometimes the seam is just extremely pesky and I just have to work at it a little bit with some steam, but that's how I get them looking all nice and neat and pressed. And I'm kind of one of these people who I don't like to have wrinkles when I take a picture. Isn't that funny? Even when I'm showing a quilt, or even if I'm showing just a little portion of a quilt, if there's a fold mark or a wrinkle, I'll take and throw it onto the ironing board and iron it, and then lay it down and lay the stitching on top of it, and then take a picture. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I don't even see it, you know, in anybody else's pictures, but in mine, I'm so critical of my own stuff. And yeah, I just have to have it. I just have to have everything just so. I usually buy Best Press from Joann's, or in a pinch, I will buy it from Amazon. But if you buy it at Joann's, you can use a 40 or 50% off coupon, because very rarely is it ever on sale. And at my Joann's, they store it at the cutting counter. It used to be down the quilting notions aisle, but they moved it a year or so ago, because I guess people were stealing it. Anyway, so at my Joann's, it is at the cutting counter. But I love it. I've used it for years. It comes in, I think, 3 different scents. It's got regular, a lavender, and a linen. And I usually just get the clear scent-free. So it's great. I love it. I use it a lot. And then the second question that I got was about my stitching rotation. And they basically wanted to know how I go about my rotation. I usually have 3 projects that I work on, but occasionally I do squeak in a 4th that will rotate, and it just kind of depends on my mood, I guess. But usually how I do it is I'll have, on Saturday and Sunday, I have a long-standing whip, which in this case has been American Farmhouse by the Scarlet House. Prior to that, it was Queen of Freedom. And it's basically just a whip that has been hanging out in my mocking basket, and it just needs to be finished. And this way I'm getting at least 2 days a week working on it exclusively, and I'm not burning myself out on it, because what was happening was, for the most part, before I started doing Flosstube, I was a monogamous stitcher, but I found that I'd work on it for a little while and I would lose interest in it, and then I would set it aside and I wouldn't go back to it. And so with starting my Flosstube videos and, you know, being able to have more content to show, I decided I needed to do some sort of a rotation. So on Saturday and Sundays, I will work on a long-standing whip, and then Monday through Friday, I will rotate between two. Sorry about that, I had to pause my video because I started coughing. You would think after spending a week talking nonstop that my vocal cords would be used to talking, but apparently not. Anyhow, so Monday through Friday, I have been rotating between two projects. One of them has been Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain, and the other one has been the Anniversaries of the Heart. And so typically, I will work on 3 at any given time. And I have my videos every 2 weeks. So during that 2-week period, I will work on the same 3 projects unless I finish one of them, and then I will rotate something else in. Then at the end of the 2 weeks, when I've done my video, I can choose if I want to continue on with the 3 or if I want to rotate them, either one of them out or 2 of them out or all 3 of them out, and then start over fresh for the next 2 weeks. So far though, I've kind of been keeping the same rotation for the past little while. I am struggling a little bit on American Farmhouse, and I'll explain that why here in a second. But, and I actually was thinking about swapping it out for Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow. So we'll see. I haven't quite decided what I want to do. I probably should figure that out because the weekend is coming. But that's typically how I do my rotation. I know a lot of people assign different days of the weeks, and, you know, it just kind of depends on what, I think a lot of people follow Priscilla and Chelsea, where every day is a different theme. And then I've had some people tell me that they do, like, every 2 days they'll work on a project, and then when the 2 days are over, they work on the next, and then that's how they kind of do it. So it's just kind of however it works for you. And for me, rotating the 3 projects works very, very well. Although sometimes I do kind of squeak in a 4th one there, just kind of whenever I need a little something. So that's typically how I do it. I did do some purchasing over the past couple of weeks. Some of the stuff I purchased a while ago and it's just now getting to me. I think I'm kind of winding up my crazy purchase frenzy that I've been, you know, doing over the past couple of months. I know it's just been because of all the COVID and, you know, being indoors and life just sort of shutting down. And I know that's kind of why I've just kind of, you know, been like buying all the patterns and the threads, but I think I've kind of worked that out of my system now, and I'm ready to settle down and just kind of work on the things that I have. I've kitted up a bunch, so I'm ready to go if the world decides to shut down again. The first thing that I bought was Lavender and Lace Celtic Autumn. When I first got back into cross stitching, I saw the Celtic ladies. So there's winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Or winter is Noel winter. Is there? I think there's just 4 of them. But then there's a Noel. I guess I should have looked before I did my video. But there's a group of Celtic ladies. And when I first got back into cross stitching, I remember being on Pinterest and this one kept popping up all the time, except it wasn't that particular color scheme. It was this one. So this was a conversion that has floated around for quite a while. There, from what I understand, there used to be a group of bloggers, and back in the early 2000s, they decided to get together and do a year where they stitched the Celtic ladies. And a lot of them did conversions, and all of the conversions are beautiful. And this particular conversion I love because to me, these are the colors of autumn. So after I finished my Queen of Freedom, like I said earlier, I was kind of sad she was done and I missed her. And I know in my last video I talked about that I do have the baker's wife, fully kitted and ready to go. And I did plan on, you know, I do plan on stitching her towards the end of the summer, but she didn't really call to me. I mean, she does, but not like Queen of Freedom called to me. And then a few weeks back, I was watching a new Flosstuber, and hopefully I've remembered the name right. I should have wrote it down. I think she's the Globe-Trotting Stitcher. If I'm wrong, I will put it down below, but I will also put a link to her channel down in the description box. But she showed the converted Celtic Autumn in her video. And it was the first, you know, there's a difference between seeing the picture like on Facebook and then seeing it on YouTube, because even though you're not there in person, you're still seeing it sort of in the wild and not, you know, Photoshop or edited. You're seeing it kind of raw in the wild. And when I saw it, I loved it, and it called to me. So I made a little bit of extra money doing some quilting, and I decided I'm gonna buy it. And so I bought it from an Etsy seller. I can't remember the name of it, or can't remember the name of the Etsy shop that I bought it from, but I bought it. It arrived day before yesterday. And I do plan on doing the conversion. I have the beads loaded up in my 123 stitch shopping cart. And I contacted, so this picture here is from Janet Granger. She has a blog, and I will put the link to the blog down below. I know that she's done, I don't know if she's done all of the ladies, but I know that she's done quite a few. So this part right here, there's the falling leaves that are coming out of her hand, and I love that. The original chart does not have it, it just has some beads down here. So I contacted her, and so she sent me her little, the little chart. And she said that she did not design the falling leaves, but she got it from somebody else. So I'm happy, I have a plan. I'm probably gonna start her at some point soon, because I have missed working on Queen of Freedom, and I know that this is exactly what I'm looking for, because I love all of them. And my plan is to stitch all of the ladies, and I think I'm gonna hang them in my room. I think that there's a space in my bedroom, and I think if I stagger them, I should be able to get them all together on the same wall. I don't know. It could be that she'll just be something that I switch out with the seasons, but my plan is to stitch all of the Celtic ladies and to do all of the conversions, because I love the conversions. I know that there's a group on Facebook. I think it's just called Lavender and Lace Conversions. I'll put a link to it down below, but they always have the conversions, or you can always contact the person that's got the conversions, and they're always like very helpful and friendly, and they'll email it to you, or they'll send you to the right direction of finding the conversion. So it's a very friendly group, and I think I did talk about it in my last video too. But yeah, I'm excited. I've got a plan. I just have to decide on the fabric that I want to use. But once I saw that, and once I sort of had that sort of plan of attack, I felt a little bit better. I didn't quite miss my Queen of Freedom so much. I still do, but I'm excited to have like a plan of attack. The next little bit of purchasing that I did was I picked up the houses of Hawkhorn Hollow. So again, I had mentioned that I had done a little bit of extra work quilting, and I decided to go ahead and pick this up, even though I told myself I couldn't buy it until after I had finished either autumn or Halloween at Hawkhorn Hollow. But at least now that I have it, I have a goal to work towards when I do start working on autumn at Hawkhorn Hollow. I love these houses. I love all of the Hawkhorn Hollows. They're so fantastic, and I know that I do want to stitch them all, as you know, before I die. But I went ahead and I bought this. I love it. And then I saw that some Picture This Plus fabric had made its way back into 123 Stitch. And so I picked up some Heartland by Picture This Plus. I think I'm going to use this one for the Carriage House samplings. I showed it in my last video. It's the one with the chickens. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called, but I showed it in my last video, and I think that that is the 36 count linen that I will be using for that. So we'll see. And then the last little bit of purchasing. So I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered the chart, and then I have slowly been kitting it up over the last month. So it is Land That I Love by Teresa Kogan. And I love this so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love this. So my partner in crime, Christy, who's Crosshatch Quilts, she sent me a text message and she was like, have you seen this? I was watching Teresa's video and she showed this. Oh my gosh. And so I went and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It has everything. It's got American flags. It's got the salt boxes. It's a sampler. I love it. I absolutely love this. I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to begin stitching this. I love it. So this arrived, I ordered it from Farmer's Attic. It's either Farmer's Attic or The Farmer's Attic on Etsy, and it arrived this past week. I love it. Love it. I mean, American flags. I love it. I love it. I'm going to be stitching it on the called for tin roof by weeks. I ordered a big old piece. I know I don't need a piece this big, but it's sort of it was too big for a fat quarter. If I would have done a fat quarter, it would have been it would have been too much of a narrow margin. So I went ahead and I just bought I think it's a yard. It's a big piece. I bought a big giant piece. Yeah. I bought a big old yard piece. And I just love it. I love tin roof. I will be using it in other stuff too. But I bought it from Kit and Stitcher. I bought it the same day that Christy told me about the sampler. So I hadn't even bought the sampler yet. You couldn't pre-order it anywhere. I don't think it became available to pre-order for like another week. And so I already had bought this and I already had it before I even pre-ordered the chart. I got all of the called for DMC, and I got all of the called for Fancy Floss, which I haven't organized it yet. I just kind of threw it in the project bag as it came in the mail. So here is Fancy Floss, and check Chesapeake Bay. So I love it. I can't wait to start it. I think we're starting it tomorrow. We're doing a Zoom meeting, and there's a group of us that are going to start it tomorrow together. So that's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. So that's all my purchases, and I think that might be my purchases for a little while. I gotta like cool my jets. I gotta make some money now, not spend any money, but it's so hard. They just keep releasing amazing patterns and you just want them all immediately. And it's fun when you get stuff in the mail. You know, you get bills in the mail, that's gross, but when you get pretty samplers and linens and threads, and it just makes you so happy. So, but that was all my purchases. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been working on, but I'm going to pause because I noticed that my videos, this particular segment's getting a little big and they take forever to upload. Okay, so the past couple of weeks, I have been working on American Farmhouse by the Scarlet House. I have to be a little honest with you, I'm struggling with this one. I started out, I started it last year doing Stitch Mania, and I had got the first quilt block done, and I think I had started on the roof of the house, and then it got put away in the mocking basket. And when I was going through the basket a month or so ago, I discovered it in there and thought, well, I need to finish this. So here's my progress. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Ale by Picture This Plus with all of the called for threads, except for Weeks Whitewash. I am doing Classic Colorworks Bamboo. So when I started back on it, I was going pretty good. I got the house done, the little flower pot next to the house, and then as soon as I hit that barn, oh boy, I somehow ended up being 2 complete rows of stitches off on the American flag. So the barn was not quite wide enough. And originally I thought, well, I would leave it except for these 3 windows up here, would not be the exact same size. There was going to be two big ones and then a tiny little narrow one. So I decided to rip it all out and kind of fudge it in places. And I continued on, but I have been kind of struggling on this one. I don't know why. So I pulled it off of the scroll frame that I had it attached to, and I put it into a small Q-snap that I had, so that way I was, instead of seeing the whole, I'm only seeing this. So that helped a little bit. I've been working on it. I started working on it again yesterday while my family was here. And so I was working on that in the evening, but I was struggling on it. I don't know why. I love it, but I think I just need to stick with it because I almost set it aside and pulled out something else to work in its place, but I knew that if I did that, I would never pick it up again. So I'm gonna continue on. I'm gonna keep pushing myself to finish it because I would say that I'm probably well over halfway. I just have to finish the barn, and then there's a couple of quilt blocks. There's the quilt block. So I have these two quilt blocks. I have the rest of the barn, and then I need to fix the one bird. I had to rip one of the birds out, and then I just have all this bottom portion to do, and then I'm done. So I need to stick with it. But it's a challenge. So here are the threads that I'm using. This is the thread keep from Socks for Mom. It is, I think she just calls it Betsy, and I love it. So here's all the threads. So hopefully, in my next video, I'll be even farther along, because I went and I looked at my pictures that I had inserted in my last video, and I think I was still on the house. I was really close to finishing the house. So I've come a long way in the last 2 weeks. So I just need to stick with it and just keep stitching it. Next up is Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain. This is a stitch along that I am doing with Christy, Crosshatch Quilts. It is called Lazy Autumn Beast SAL. If I'm wrong, I'll scroll it, but I think that's what it is. And here is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with Quirks and Stitches Jen Lee's thread conversion that she graciously shared with us. I love it. Love it. I really love it. These are the threads, and this thread keep is also from Socks for Mom, and in the picture it is the house that I'm working on, the orange house. So these are all of the gorgeous threads. It's so fun. I love working on it. Originally I was only supposed to work on it just on like Fridays for, you know, sort of like a fall Friday or Halloween type Friday deal, but I really enjoy working on it, that I've just kept it in my regular rotation. It's just so fun, and I just love the colors. It's all the colors I love of autumn. And then Farmhouse. This is by Blackbird Designs. It is part of the Anniversaries of the Heart series. This is block 5, which I guess when they were releasing, it's the May block. I finally finished it at the end of June. I need to pick up some speed and kind of get the June block started and get done with it at the first part of July. Otherwise, I'm not gonna make my end goal. So here's my progress. This is them all together. I love them. It is so fun working on these. I'm stitching this on a piece of 35 count sand, and I'm using a variety of DMC, Classic Colorworks, Weeks, General Arts, just whatever thread I feel like fits the way that I want to go with the block. So here is the Farmhouse. I think in my last video I had just I was still filling in parts of the house. And this block I stitched up for my paternal grandparents, Marianne and William, and they were Marionberry farmers. So Marionberries are blackberries. They are native to the Willamette Valley, and my grandparents raised them, and we used to spend our summers out here picking them, and they would go to the cannery to be made into jams and jellies and whatever else you put blackberries in. So all of my summers, all the way up until I was 18, I spent out picking Marionberries. I decided on the vine here. So in the original chart, there are berries, but I wanted my berries to look like the Marionberries. So I did French knots, and I hope they do look like berries. I don't know, I was thinking maybe they looked a little bit like grapes, but everybody I've asked said that they do look like blackberries. So I just used some dark purple, what was it called? It is Weeks Dye Works Mulberry, and I just did a bunch of French knots. And then I also took the same green that is in the leaves, and I did the French knots at the top of the berry. I also personalized it with, this is my dad's initial, my uncle, and my aunt that passed away before she was a year old. She spent most of her life living up at Dornbecker's Hospital. There was a complication during childbirth, and yeah. So I think it turned out really good. They were married in 1950. And a funny story I was going to share was when I was stitching my grandfather's name. So my grandfather, he is William Frederick Jr., and his father was William Frederick Sr. So my whole life, you know, well, I shouldn't say, my whole life leading up to when I was like 11 or 12, I always knew that my grandfather's name was Bill. Everybody called my grandfather Bill. They very rarely ever referred to him as William. And I remember this one summer day, my grandpa's sisters came to visit. His sister Mildred, who lives, I'm not sure that she's still alive anymore. Once my grandfather died, we kind of lost all contact with everybody except for my Aunt Tootie that lives here in Woodburn. So his sister Mildred had come to visit, and then his sister from Kansas was here, and then Tootie came over. And they were standing in this room, because I don't think I've ever mentioned, but I live in my grandparents' house. And we were standing in this room, and they were talking to my grandfather, and his sister called him Billy. And it was the first time I'd ever heard my grandfather called anything other than Grandpa or Bill. And I was like, Billy, you know, being that I was a, you know, smart aleck. And my grandfather turns around and he looks at me, and the look that he sent me should have indicated that I needed to shut my pie hole. I wasn't allowed to call him Billy, but no, no. So of course I was like, Billy, Grandpa Billy? And his sisters thought it was really funny, because by them calling him Billy, I mean, they're his sisters. So of course they would give him a hard time. But the fact that his grandchild was like, Billy, you know, and just going on and on and on and calling, you know, Billy, Grandpa Billy. And my grandma even one time, she's like, Olivia, you know, cut it out. Well, finally they kicked me outside because I'm sure I was being annoying. And my brother went out there with me, and so we were outside playing. And then a little while later, they all went outside because my grandma, she loved to show off her flower gardens. And so they were standing outside, and they were talking, and I came over and I said you know, I was like, oh, you know, Grandpa Billy, Grandpa Billy. And my grandfather, he turns and he looks at me, but he still doesn't say anything. I mean, he should have just yelled at me to, you know, shut my mouth, but no, he just looks at me. And so I went off and I was like playing with my brother, and then I came back and I said it again. And to this day, I still don't understand how he got from where he was standing to the building to where the hose was. But suddenly he had the garden hose in his hand, and I called him Grandpa Billy, and he shot me full in the face with the water hose. And of course my grandfather started laughing. Everyone started laughing. I was soaking wet. My grandma was horrified. She was like, "Belle, what have you done?" And the thing is, my grandfather, it took a lot to make him laugh. He wasn't somebody that like laughed at everything. I mean, if he thought it was funny, he let you know it was funny. He would just start laughing. He's kind of like my husband. My husband doesn't just laugh, at everything. Like I laugh at everything. I find humor in everything. And my husband, I'll say, "Oh, isn't that hilarious?" And he'll just kind of go, "Huh, yeah, uh-huh." But when something's really funny, he'll start laughing. And my grandpa was the exact same way. When something was really funny, he started laughing. And so he was laughing. My grandma was horrified. His sisters were laughing. And I don't know why all these years I forgot that memory, but when I was stitching his name, I was thinking about, I was thinking about my grandparents and like all the different like memories that you have. And then all of a sudden, I just remember calling him Billy. And if you think that was the last time I called him Billy, you would be wrong, because every once in a while I would still do it just to be a little turd. So anyway, I know that's kind of a long explanation for my block, but I'm glad it is done. I love it. And the next block that I am moving on to is Happy Birthday by Blackbird Designs. This is the only block that I don't know what to do yet. I was toying with the idea of in here just putting our last name of Gust, and then somewhere in the other blocks adding my maiden name, which is Leimbach. So I don't know. I go back and forth. I also, on my paternal, so it'd be my dad's mom's mom, so my great grandma, I found out about 10 or so years ago that she was also a quilter, and so I definitely know that I want to put her into my sampler as well. So it could be that this will be her block. So we'll see. My dad told me that my great grandma, they all quilted, her and her sisters, and then they would get together when someone had a completed quilt top and they would sit around and quilt it. And I have one of her quilts, and I'll have to get it out and show it in my next video. As I start working on this one, I'll get it out, or I'll get it out when I start working on the one block that I know is going to be for my great grandma. So, and then I'll show that. But so before I show Queen of Freedom, first of all, I get a lot of emails. I get a lot of people contacting me through Etsy, through Instagram, the direct messaging, through Facebook, Pinterest, asking me for my Queen of Freedom chart. I do not have Queen of Freedom anymore. I sent my Queen of Freedom off to her next destination, and I'm looking forward to seeing the person that I sent her to. I'm looking forward to seeing her begin stitching it at some point, and I'm glad that she is where she is, because originally I was really afraid that when I sent her off to wherever that the person that I sent her off to would just turn around and sell her. And so I found the perfect person. I know that she's going to be very well loved, and I'm very happy with where she ended up. So I do not have her anymore. Queen of Freedom, so she was finished last Thursday. I went to go pick her up, and there was a boo-boo. And so I had to leave her there so that they could fix the boo-boo. And then on Friday, she was ready for me to pick up. And it was so hard. I was so excited when I went on Thursday to go get her. I was looking forward to having her home, and instantly, I still don't even understand how they did not see the pin, because there was a pin in the bottom. You could see it. It wasn't like I was standing there with a magnifying glass. You could see the pin. And I was really disappointed because I'd had kind of a bad experience, not a bad experience, but it had kind of been the same situation with Skeleton Crew, where the bow was, it went straight, and then the very bow was like this. I'm like, how did they not see that? So it was kind of the same situation. I saw that, and then right next to where the pin was in the bottom, there was a big bubble. So I was a little bit disappointed that they did not catch that. I know that I'm going to, I had a lot of people tell me to, give Hobby Lobby a try. So I think the next time I go to Hobby Lobby, I'm gonna take Sally Spencer, and I'm gonna have them give me a quote and see what she would cost to get framed, and then save up and then take her in and have them frame her, and then just kind of see. But all in all, I am happy with the job that Michaels did. It's not that, it's just I was like, really? How could you not see the pin? Anyway, so without further ado, here is Queen of Freedom. So I know that I have shown her, I mean, I've shown her off everywhere. I've shown her on Instagram, I've shown her on Facebook, I put her in one of the memorabilia groups. I just absolutely love her. She's so beautiful. She looks so amazing on my wall. I'll make sure to insert a picture at the end of the video so you can see where she will be hanging. But I love her. I love her so much. So I had her framed with museum glass, so she is not showing a glare, which is awesome. The frame, so what happened is how they do it at Michaels is they will take a picture of your stitched piece and they'll put it into their computer, and then you can go and get the frames and pick out different combinations, and then they will put a frame around your stitching and kind of show you what she'll look like. So I had two frames pick out. I had one that was more of a gold, and then it had a dark, it was gold and then it was dark here. And then I had another one that it was a dark wood. It looked like it was kind of a vintagey wood. And then it had a gold, I'm not sure what they call that, but it was a gold ring, I guess, that went around it. So it had the dark, and then there was a gold insert that you could get to go with it, because I did not want to have a mat around her. So I had narrowed it down to those two, and I really liked them, but I don't know, I was on the fence because I thought, you know, they both look good, they do, but I just wasn't 100% sold on her. And then my husband, I was just about ready to say to the darker wood, I was just about ready to say that that was the one that I was going to go with. And then my husband brought a piece of this frame over, and it was funny because as he set it down, so I up here, like the gold was here and then the dark was here, and then he brought this frame over, and as soon as he brought it, he was bringing it down, and he hadn't even set it on her. I was like, that's it, because as soon as it brushed over her, I could see all of the green that is in her immediately pop out. And I was like, that's the frame that I want. And so here it is. And it looks amazing. I mean, I look at her a million times a day. Every time I walk past her, I look at her. She's just so beautiful. She's so regal, just everything. She's so beautiful. I love her so much. Oh, I love her. I'm so glad she's done, even though I'm a little bit sad. I just love her. I absolutely love seeing her. And she just sparkles when the light hits her, and she's just gorgeous. I love her so much. So, again, I will put a picture of her hanging on the wall at the end of the video, so that way you can see where she stays. And I mean, every time I walk into that room, I can see her, and I just love her. She's my favorite, honestly, she is. And again, thank you so much to everybody who, you know, followed along as I was stitching her, who cheered me on. I just thank you so much for not getting bored with seeing her, because honestly, every time I took her out of the scroll frame, I had to show a picture of her. I loved every single second of working on her. She was amazing. And if you have her in your stash and you've been thinking about working on her, you totally should, because she is just, she's amazing when you just watch her unfold. She's amazing. So thank you so much to all of you guys who cheered me on along the way. She's so amazing. So, well, that is the end of all of the cross stitch that I have to show for this video. Next up, I will be showing the quilt that I finished, and then I'll be talking a little bit about that one that's hanging up behind me. I thank you so much for stopping by. If you're not interested in hearing about the quilts, that's okay. This is a great stopping off point. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and you know, thank you so much. However, if you are interested in seeing the quilts, stay tuned. All right, so I know I was gonna say something at the beginning of my video about the new quilt that's hanging up behind me, but I thought, no, I better wait. I better put that in the quilting segment of the video because I don't want to make anybody upset who doesn't want to see quilts. Anyway, so in my last video, I showed that I had the quilt top finished for the Constitution Quilt by Primitive Gatherings. I did finish it. I think my video, I uploaded my video on Friday. I had it on the quilt machine on Saturday, and I put the binding and the hanging sleeve on it on Sunday. And then I had it completely finished. I had all the binding on it, I think, by Monday night. And then I was able to hang it up. So this quilt was so much fun to work on. The one thing about log cabin quilts, though, are they look deceptively quick, and they are not. They take sometimes, well, in my opinion, they take a lot longer than, say, a regular quilt does to put together, because you just have to sew bar after bar after bar and just go around and around and around. And so this one took me way longer than I had anticipated, but I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was a great way to sort of end my day. I would start sewing on the different blocks after dinner was done, and so I had like an hour, maybe 2 hours to work on it in the evenings, and so I really enjoyed sort of having that to look forward to every day and to work on it, and it's so much fun. I quilted it with a swirl motif that sort of had paisleys, I guess, kind of half paisleys in it. And at the end of this video, I will take a close-up of the quilting motif that I did so that you can see what I put all on it. But it's not necessarily a busy quilt, but it definitely, you can use a very busy motif on it and it will look great. The book that it came out of is Stars and Stripes Gathering by Primitive Gatherings. There's a lot of great patterns in here, so you can't go wrong with this one, but here it is in the book. There's a lot of great patterns. So I'm so excited to show you this next quilt. If you watched my last video, Carol, she sent me that amazing box that had Civil War reproduction quilt blocks in it. So the blocks came out of this book. So the blocks were already put together. There was 49 blocks. She already had them all put together. And so she sent me all of the finished blocks plus the sashing and the 2 border fabrics to complete it. And I started working on it last week and I finished it Wednesday. I think I finished it Wednesday. Thursday? Either Wednesday or Thursday. Hang on a second. So I love this one so much. I don't know that I'm gonna have time to quilt it next week, but definitely the week after I'm gonna squeeze it in between client quilts because I definitely want this one. I want this one finished. So here we go. Aren't these blocks so amazing? So I know showing them in my videos, it's hard to show a whole entire quilt, but these blocks are amazing. Carol did such a beautiful job on all of them. I just love it. I wish there was a better way to show the quilts in my video so that you could see the whole entire quilt. What I'll do is when my video is done, I will go take it outside and I'll have Allison snap a picture and I'll hold it up and then I'll have Allison snap a picture and then I'll put a full picture of it at the end of my video. But I love the quilt. Oh, Carol is so sweet and generous to send the quilt my way. I don't know that I would have been able to part with it, but I love it. I just thank you so much, Carol. I love it, love it, love it. I have the quilt backing for it. This is called Pumpkin Farm by Henry Glass. Yes, I got that right. I picked it up from Thousands of Bolts. And I also got my backing for that one. My brain is like disengaging today. Anyway, so I got both of these backing, the backing for this one and then this one from Thousands of Bolts. And this is Civil War reproduction. I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I can't wait to have it finished. And I already have the binding. I already have everything ready to go. I just got to quilt it. So I love it. I love it so much. I've had so much fun putting it together. So I can't wait to have it completely finished. Well, guys, that is all I have to show you for this video. I thank you so much for stopping by today. I do appreciate it, and thank you to all. Welcome to all of the new subscribers. I'm glad that you guys like to see all of the quilts that I do show in my video, because I do know this is technically Flosstube, but I'm glad that you guys are all really cool with me showing the quilts, because that is also a big part of my life as well. So thank you, and I of course will be back in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. If I don't answer the question right away, or even on Instagram or Facebook, if I'm really slow to respond, I do apologize. It's just, there's so much going on right now, and a lot of the times what happens is I will be in the middle of reading a comment and then I get distracted, or I begin to go through the comments or begin, reading them, and then I have a cute little kid come over and distract me. So it's not that I'm ignoring you. I have a feeling life will slow down in about another week, but for the most part I am just enjoying the time with my family. So that's why I'm a little slow to respond. Also, project bags, I'm so sorry they have just not made their way back into the shop. They will. They will. I have them all stacked up and ready to assemble, so they will. You just have to be a little bit more patient with me, because my sewing machine is in the main family room and that's where everybody is. So I can't, everything's put away right now. And once my family goes, then I will be able to get everything back out again and resume project bag making and making quilts. So anyway, thank you so much for stopping by today. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and I hope you have a very happy 4th of July. Can't believe it's already July almost. Can you believe it? Anyway, but I hope you have a great one. I hope you have a great 2 weeks. I hope you get lots of stitching done. Stay cool if you are in the hotter climates. And thank you so much for stopping by today. Bye-bye.